පත මොහුගේ ඉදිරි සියලු කටයුතු on the facts and sharp Trinity ඔලිබරපු ජනප්‍රියතම ක්‍රීඩාවට
a single point
Zambia what is
out of the team for domination වයිලා
මොකද දන්නවද කියලා
FA Cup champions
Four unbeaten teams and plenty of talking points in this weekend's fixtures, but this is the best place to talk about them. You're watching ThePapare.com and you're on the breakdown. The matches that we had to look back on the weekend in this Singer Schools Rugby League 2018, DS Senanayake recording their first victory in this season so far, 38 points to 10 against Dharmaraja. But because of the bonus points they picked up for finishing so close to the winners in their previous 3 games, they look like they've almost won 2 matches. So they've made the qualification process much easier for themselves. Dharmaraja still without a win. We had Royal taking on St. Joseph's in probably what was the most anticipated clash of the Singer Schools League so far, and it was a big win for Royal in terms of the league, but not as big a win on the scoreboard. 18 points to 13 was how that one finished in favour of the defending champions. And in the other group we had St. Peter's meeting Pathan, the 2 unbeaten teams, and that game was a 1-point game for most of that second half until about the last 3 minutes where St. Peter's pulled away and it finished 20 points to 14. Trinity took on St. Thomas's at Palla Calais, and that one amidst the heavy rain finished 34 points to 24, both teams scoring 21 points in that second half, and it was largely thanks to the 3-quarter moves that resulted in tries for Trinity in the first half that they managed to win that game by the 10 points that they managed to get in that first 35 minutes. But unfortunately for St. Thomas's, although they scored more tries in this match than they did for the rest of the season, it looked like a pretty poor average defense in terms of their backline defense, which allowed Trinity to walk in a couple of tries in that first half, and that was where the game was won and lost. We had Wesley taking on Zahira as well in a must-win game for both teams, and in the end it was the running rugby of Wesley that took them to a 19-point lead in the first half. It was 19-7 at Lemons, and 26 points to 7 was how it finished. So the second half things fell away a little bit for Wesley, but it was enough of a burst in that first half. But they need to prove themselves that they are a 70-minute team. So a simple rugby, and that was what won the day for the Wesleyites, and they look like they're executing well when they have the ball, but their ability to get the ball as a big forward pack is what is lacking a little bit for them. So that was the story as far as the results are concerned. Let's look back at the biggest match of the tournament so far. We had Royal taking on St. Joseph's at the Havelock Park. Royal, of course, were favourites going into this game. A lot of people anticipated that St. Joseph's might be able to do an upset on them, but that anticipation faded pretty quickly when Pathan was so dominant in the defensive line-out. They just didn't allow St. Joseph's to get a single ball in and managed to get any kind of momentum going through that line-out ball. So that was a real problem for St. Joseph's. They couldn't get hands on any kind of possession for their boys like Gamunu Chetia and Kushan Kavinda to try and penetrate that Royal defence, and they seemed to kind of not really go into the kicking game either. Whenever they did get the ball, I thought there was a little space behind Royal College which they could have exploited, but Dulan Gunawardhan also having a very good game for Royal. But Hirushan and Adhan and Farid, I thought, were the outstanding forwards for Royal College. It just didn't allow St. Joseph's to get their hands on the ball, and their carries were so good, so secure, that it's very difficult to see this Royal side being beaten unless they have a really bad day at the office. But for St. Joseph's it was close, but once again no cigar, and you have to realize that it was just that first try, that burst from Madhuranga and Piatis that created that opening for them in the first minute of the game. But apart from that, they never really looked like scoring towards the end. So really dominant win for Royal, and I think if I were the Royal management, I'd go back and think we should have won that game by a lot more. Unfortunately, Risith Fernando called back when he looked like he was going in for all money to score a 70-meter try, but he was called back. And there are a couple other moments also that will be talking points in that game, so to speak, and it would have been Royal's victory definitely by a lot more points if they managed to just keep some continuity going, but the game was never really allowed to flow. So that was the big match of last weekend. Other big match was Peters versus Pathan, and that was on the second half of the draw, and Pathan were coming into that game also as underdogs, but this Pathan team can never be written off. It's a team that likes that tag of underdogs, and they changed things around in the second half, but once again they had just given too much to St. Peters in that first half. 15 points to 9 it was, and only Manika Ruberu's penalties to speak of. They didn't really look like scoring, except with that brilliant Anjula break, but St. Peters through Jason Karunaratne stopped a lot of those mini breaks that Pathan were able to make, and I thought the Peterite defense was really good on the day, and Liana Pathan really good at fullback as well, created the try at the end for Jason Karunaratne, and he was really safe as houses at the back. So it was a very difficult game for St. Peters to breach that defense of Pathan, but at the same time they didn't really allow any opportunities at the other end also. Our upcoming big matches of the next fortnight, of course, the Trinity versus Royal match, the Bradby Shield, which everyone anticipates at the start of the season, and that will be brought to you. Of course, we'll do a bit of a talk show before that and analyze this game with a little bit more detail. That one finished 22 points to 17 last year to Royal College, but they will be expecting a bigger margin this year. Some of the 2002 Royal team who have the record aggregate margin are a little nervous in their boots at the moment. And right now we have Royal who are leading the points table in Division 1A. Trinity, of course, in 4th place at the moment, or they will be in 4th place at some point before that game. They are on 14 points right now, played for 1-2, and Royal have played for 1-4. So Royal are the overwhelming favourites for that game. And the match that we are looking for from the other category is Pathan versus Wesley. That one finished 28-0 to Wesley last year, but I think it's going to be a lot closer this year because the Wesley backs have matured. It's pretty much the same backline that played last year, but they are 1 year more ahead in experience. And also, apart from Manika Ruberu, we didn't see a lot from Pathan's backline, so that's going to be a very, very interesting clash because the strength of both these teams are in their backs, and it will be up to Anjula and Dayan Sabah to make sure that they have a good forwards battle as well. 28-0 last year, but it's going to be a lot closer than that this year. Our next fixtures, St. Joseph's taking on Kingswood. That should be an interesting game at Havelock Park at 4:30. I think St. Joseph's can't afford to take their foot off the gas and take this Kingswood team lightly. There might be an upset in the offing there. Then we have St. Peter's taking on DS, and St. Peter's should have enough firepower to win that game, but DS have won themselves some bonus points. They'll be desperate to get a bonus point there as well, with Zahira taking on Dharmaraja, which means that Zahira will try to win with a bonus point, and that could make that qualification battle with DS really interesting. And then we have St. Thomas's taking on St. Anthony's. St. Thomas's, of course, already relegated to in the second round. They won't be making the top 4, but St. Anthony's will need to win that one desperately to try and stay up. Let's have a look at how the points table stands so far. Royal and St. Peters are the only unbeaten teams for the moment. Let's look at Division 1A. We have Royal College at the top, sitting pretty with 3 bonus points out of their 4 games that they have played, and that's for a total of 23 points. St. Joseph's have fallen behind after that loss against Royal. They have 19 points at the moment, but they've picked up 4 bonus points with a losing bonus point last week as well. Trinity currently in 3rd place, but that could all change based on the result of Kingswood versus St. Anthony's, and Trinity will be at the moment on 14 points after their win against St. Thomas's College. Kingswood will be taking on St. Anthony's. That will be the 4th game for both teams, Kingswood and St. Anthony's, and based on the result of that we will know the fate of some of the other teams in that group. But St. Thomas's haven't really managed to get off the leaderboard, not even a losing bonus point for them. 4 games they've played, 4 games they've lost, and they are almost 100 points, or just short of 100 points in a deficit between points for and points against. A lot of those, of course, did come from that Royal game. So a season that they will need to resurrect when they go down into the lower divisions. Let's look at Division 1B. We have St. Peter's, who've played 4 games and won 4 games, and they're on a total of 23 points, just like Royal College are on the other side of the draw. Pathan are losing this weekend for the first time as well. They're on 18 points, and Wesley College have won 2 out of the 3 games they have played. They've got 1 game in hand, and that one is something that they will be expecting to win. So maybe they will end up with 3 wins also and make it through to the knockout rounds or to the qualification rounds. And then we have DS also currently in 4th place, but that could all change if Zahira do get a bonus point against Dharmaraja, which means that they will go up. But if DS manage to get a bonus point against St. Peter's, then it will be tied, which means that Zahira will go through anyway because of the head-to-head victory that Zahira had against DS Serenayaka. So it looks very much at the moment that Zahira are primed to go through into the second round. But of course, DS can do this. They could score 4 tries and they could finish within 7 points of St. Peter's, which will give them 2 bonus points, which means that they will in effect make sure that they go through at the expense of Zahira. So all to play for both those teams. Dharmaraja, of course, bringing up the rear. They, like St. Thomas's, haven't managed to win a game at all, and they are also almost close to 100 points in deficit between their points for and points against. They haven't picked up a point. So it will be a battle of the wooden spoonies, of course, once the other teams come up from the Division 2 games as well. Science College looking pretty dominant there, so it won't be an easy walk in the park for the teams that go down from this Division 1. Our top point scorers and try scorers. In the try scoring category, we have Gamanu Chetia. A lot of people were expecting him to add to his tally this week and couldn't do so, unfortunately. Didn't get much of the ball, but he's already got 7 tries. John Ganegoda, also a Josephian, is forward, and it's interesting to see that we have a couple of forwards at number 2 and 3. Just shows you the kind of rugby that has been played so far in this league, both on 4 points with 4 tries rather, with John Ganegoda and Dinusha Hemasiri, the big DS number 8, who has been outstanding in his carrying, and Ramita De Silva, also of Pathan College, who managed to come in with 4 tries, scored a brilliant try over the weekend as well against St. Peter's. Then our top point scorers, we have Dulan Gunawardana of Royal College. He's been knocking over those conversions and plenty of them coming his way. Also, he hasn't needed to do a lot more apart from that, and he has been looking good with 40 points. Shehan Lianapadirana, also of St. Peter's. He's very good with the ball in hand also, and he's got 38 points. Gamanu Chetia, with all those tries that he scored, has come up with 35 points, the only non-kicker in that top 3. Ruberu with 3 tries and 2 conversions and 4 penalties, 31 points, an all-round showing from him. And once again, Dinusha Hemasiri also with 30 points with all those tries that he's scoring. So those are top point scorers for now. As you know, on the breakdown, we have a Q&A. We always like to hear what you guys have to say and also whatever questions you may have. And we have a question from Shanuka Pereira. Has a turnover rule when a player has been held up changed? He's asking about the knee being on the ground and a player being held up with the ball in the air and the ball going to the defending side. So what I can tell Shanuka is the rule hasn't changed. It's a tackle if the player carrying the ball puts one knee on the ground. However, if the defending player holds the ball carrier up and the referee calls a maul, and after that the player carrying the ball puts his knee on the ground, it will still be a maul, which means that the ball will still go to the defending side. So that's how the rule goes. It's a tackle if the player manages to get his knee to the ground immediately or in the course of the tackle, which means that the defending player has to release. But if a maul is called, then he does not have to release the player. So that brings us to an end of the breakdown, and we'll be back with a lot more action. Looking forward to the Bradby also in the course of the upcoming week. A lot more to look forward to on ThePapare.com in the Singer Schools League 2018.